Hey everyone, it's Jen B, and welcome to my studio. In today's video, I'm going to be making a pearl ring. I've kind of had this idea for a pearl ring where the pearls sit on top of a bar. And let me get a couple of the pieces out for you. So here's the ring made out of square wire. I think I used square wire that was rolled a little bit flat. And then I'm going to use some rectangle wire, which will sit on top of the bar like this. And then the pearls will sit on top of the bar. So that's my idea. I'm going to see if I can get it to work. I'm not really 100% sure how well this design is going to work out and how protected the pearls are going to be, because they're going to be like free floating on top of the bar. And I guess I'm afraid they'll get knocked, and I don't know. We'll see. I'll just be careful when I'm wearing it, but I have to experiment and see, how things go in order to progress as a silversmith. So we're going to get going. If you hear any ticking, it's one of my dogs walking around. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take my rectangle wire. This is 2x1 millimeter rectangle wire. So I'm going to work on getting the one end flush using a miter vise. I'm just going to put it in the miter vise so that the end is sticking up. Sometimes it's a little fiddly to get it in there. There we go. This is just a cheap bastard file that I got at Lowe's, Harbor Freight, I don't know, and put a Prosecco cork on the end for my handle. And the reason I'm using a cheap file is because I do end up hitting the miter vise, the miter jig, cutting vise, whatever you want to call it. I do end up hitting this piece with my file, and I really don't want to use my nice, beautiful jewelry making files for that type of thing. So here we go. I'm just going to start to file that. I'll kind of turn it around. I'm just going to keep filing until I don't feel any metal and the file kind of skates over it. You can kind of see and hear that that file is skating over. So now I can take it out of the miter vise, and I'm going to be making this piece 20 millimeters. So I'm going to get, I think this is like called a machinist ruler, I think. I like it because it has inches on one side and millimeters on the other. And I'm just going to mark where 20 millimeters is. I'm going to use some flush cutters. I'm going to cut right outside that line. And then I'm going to put it in the miter vise and file that side nice and flush. And I'm going to try to get it, oops, that must be on the other side. There we go. I'm going to try to get this into the miter vise where that line, do you see that? I don't know if my head is in the camera. My hair always gets in the camera. Does anybody else have that issue? Okay, fingers. All right, let's check that out and make sure that it is 20 millimeters. I did pretty good. Can you see that? I think I did pretty good. Okay. So now I got to think about how I want to do this. I'll be right back. Okie dokie. So the next step, Actually, I'm going to take off the burr. This has a little bit of a burr on it from where I filed it. So, there it is. This is just a nail buffer. And I'm just going to very gently, so that I don't distort the size of it, is just take off that burr. So feel a little bit on this side. There we go. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do is I want to mark on here, according to my plan, that the pearls are going to be 2 millimeters, or the outside pearls are going to be 2 millimeters away from each end. And so I just want to come in here and I'm just going to put a dot. And so that's where the edge of the pearls are going to sit. And now I need to figure out where to drill the holes. Actually, before I do that, let me go ahead and mark the middle of the piece. The middle of the piece is 10 millimeters, because this is a 20 millimeters piece, and I can do math. I'm going to put a little bit of, this is called a Dykem marker. It's a paint, and I use it to help me mark. So I use the Dykem marker to accurately mark things out when I'm using a compass. It doesn't wipe off like it does, like a Sharpie does. Okay, so I'm going to grab a pearl, and I'm going to be using my compass, here, really pretty birdie out there, to gauge where the hole, and I don't know if you could see this, I'm sorry that my nails get in the way, but I'm going to use a compass to figure out where to drill the middle, or to drill the hole for the middle of the pearl, according to the edge of the pearl. So I'm going to put one tip in there, and I'm going to keep closing. And I don't know, this is really hard to do on camera. Okay, so that looks real good. Can you see that? I've got one point in there, and the other point is on the outside of the pearl. And so this is going to tell me where to put the drill hole. On this, how far away to put it from that mark. So I'm going to put one edge, I'll put one end on that dot, and then use the other end of the compass to mark in that Dykem marker where I need to drill the hole. Turn around and do the other end. I'm going to put one edge on that mark, and the other edge. Just kind of wiggle it a little bit, and that is where I need to drill. Center punch, and I probably could mark the center, but you know what, I am just going to eye it. So I'm going to put the tip of the center punch in the middle of the wire and give it a very small tap. The center punch is just going to give me a guide for my drill bit to go into. When I'm going to drill my holes. There we go. Okay, so I've got my drill holes prepared. And I'm going to be using 18 gauge wire, and I don't know what I did with my 18 gauge wire. Here it is. I'm going to be using 18 gauge wire as the post for my pearls. So I want to use a ball burr that, so I'm not going to be drilling holes. I know I said drill holes earlier, but I'm not going to be drilling holes. I'm going to be using a ball burr to make a divot for this wire into the rectangle wire so that the post for the pearl can sit down into that divot and I can get a really nice strong solder join between the wire and the bar. Okay everyone, I am over at my soldering board. I'm trying to get this zoomed in a little bit right there so you can see how I've got this set up. I've got a third hand right here, and I've got a post in the third hand sitting in the divot. I'm just kind of looking and making sure. And sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to keep this all on the screen. Adjust it a little bit. We'll see how it goes. You're probably going to hear excess noise. Sorry about that. I have a fume extractor. I have an oxygen concentrator. A whole bunch of stuff. So, right, first things first, my safety goggles. Okay. Oh, I do need my hard solder as well. Walking around gathering things. I did not get good video footage of making the divots for the posts because my gigantic head got in the way. So we're just going to go right into soldering. I don't know if I had said that I was going to use hard solder on these, but here we go. All right, let me get some things organized here. Let me get my extra posts out of the way so that I don't burn those. Let me get some solder chips here because I will melt those into little balls. That one's a little too tiny. Okay, I'll melt those into little balls in just a second. Alright, let's get this going. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to turn on my torch. I use a Smith little torch. I've got a number 5 tip on it right now. I don't want a too strong flame because this is a pretty delicate piece. I'm going to spray it or heat it up and then spray it with some spray flux. Sorry, this is the first time I've talked through anything while I've been doing this, so this feels a little strange. Okay, I'm going to come over here and pre-ball my solder. I'll give those a little spray. I'm going to take one of them and place it right next to the post. And we're going to get this all soldered down. Trying not to heat up the post too much. It's going to take just a second because it is freezing cold in this room. Okay, there we go. The solder just flowed. I'm going to come around here and just really make sure that I've got that solder pulled around all into the divot. Okie dokie, I'm going to move on to the next post. Okay, that looks like it's in there pretty good. Though I just pushed it down a little bit more, so now it's even better. Okay. Lighting my torch again. Turning up the oxygen. I'll give that a little spray. I'm going to turn my torch up just a smidge more. Sorry if I'm grumbling. Again, this is the first time that I've done this while I'm actually soldering. I typically don't talk while I'm making jewelry. Alright, I'm grabbing a little tiny piece of solder. I'm going to dip it in some flux and get it to sit right by that post. Oh dear, did you see me hit that? I totally hit that. It's okay, it looks like it's still in place. And keep hitting that. May not be the best setup, but that's okay. Just about ready to flow. There it goes. Went into that divot. I'm going to pull this around. Just, you may not be able to see it, but I just flipped it around so that I could make sure the solder filled the entire divot. Alright. We have got one more post to do. Some of the wires aren't straight. Oh, this one really looks like it's not in the right place, doesn't it? Okay. Well, that may require a redo because, well, somehow that didn't. These are not the same. Bummer. I just unsoldered the middle post because upon further inspection that was the post that was out of alignment. So I'm going to solder it back and we're going to hope that this time everything works exactly as it's supposed to. Alright, let me get in position. I didn't turn on my, let me turn on my fume extractor. And we'll get all prepared to solder that middle post back on. So, how do I want to set this up? I'm really going to make sure that it is we'll get my torch lit. Whoa, a little too much gas. Okay. Get it all fluxed up. I gotta get some spray flux in my bowl. Ball up the flux over here. I just hit that. Did you see me hit that? I was trying so hard not to hit that too. This is what happens when I try to record a video Now I'm worried that I think it's still okay. I am worried though that it got out of alignment ever so much, but we're gonna go with it. And I'm gonna grab this tiny itty bitty piece of solder, dip it in a little bit of flux, get it placed right up next to that post. Get everything warmed up. And did you see that? Did you see that? That piece just fell right off. Okay, well, so far this is not turning out to be... And it's still soldered on there. That's annoying. Let me unsolder that real quick. Come on. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to see if I can hold this. And get that back attached. There we go. The solder reflowed. Alright, let's quench it and see if everything is aligned. You know, some days they just go like that. I'm thinking it looks okay. I still feel like the middle post is a skosh too far this way, but I'm really bad at judging distances. Alrighty. Good morning, everybody. It is a new day, and I had to step away from this project because things were just going downhill last night when I was working on this. I was on limited time. Things kept happening, and so I put it away and I started fresh this morning. I didn't video it because I didn't want the stress of trying to make sure that everything was perfect and film everything. So I redid the bar with the posts for the pearls. Here's the original post. You know, the posts ended up not being even after I tried to fix the middle post, and then the right post fell off and I got that on. And when it all came time to measure it and get the pearls on, it just it wasn't working. I cut the posts too small. You can see how tiny those posts are. Like, it was just a mess. This bar was a mess. So I started fresh. I made another bar with the posts, and I'm pretty happy with the placement. Hi, Faye. Hi, pretty girl. That was my 18-year-old Papillon coming in for a visit. Okay, so we're going to try again. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to take one of the pearls, and I want to figure out the depths of the pearl. So I've got some 18 gauge wire here. This is the size of the post that the pearl is going to be sitting in. So I want to stick that post into the pearl. Then I'm going to use a Sharpie marker just to mark where that comes out, where the post comes out. And I'm going to measure that and see about how long that needs to be. So that's about 2 millimeters. So I want these posts to be about 2 millimeters. So I'm going to get that measured. And if we have to do a little bit of trimming, that is fine. I just don't want to do too much trimming like I did on the other one. So I'm going to take some flush cutters and just cut right underneath that mark. That pearl has some... Okay, so you can see I've got to trim just a smidge more for that to sit on there flush. So I'm going to try using the flush side now, going underneath that pinch. So the reason I cut with the pinch up was because it helps give me a guide of where to cut the next time. Like I can cut just underneath that pinch. And sorry, I've got multiple dogs walking around in here today. All right, some of them are a little bit taller than the others, but we can file those down. Okay, that last one looks to be really good. See that? Sorry if I hit my mic. See that? That sits on there just perfect. So I'm going to use a file and file those other ones down. I'm going to check the pearls, and I was struggling, and that's because I don't have my magnifiers on. Silly, silly me. Let's get my pearls out here. And I don't remember which. I think I had the smaller one going in the middle. Come back here. Okay. Yep, I am perfectly happy with that. Fantastic. All right, now I want to make sure that these pearls stay in the same configuration. Okay, so I've just got a little bit of tape here, and I'm just going to take the pearls off and stick them to this tape. And that way they will stay in the orientation that I want to put them on this bar. All right, so I'm gonna go drink a little bit more coffee and take a breath now that I know that the bar is fine and that redoing the bar was the right decision. So when I come back, it will be time to solder the bar onto the ring. So I'll see you in just a minute. Hey everyone, it's VoiceOver Jen here. I unfortunately forgot to turn my mic on when I was recording this clip, so I'm just going to do a voiceover now that it's all edited together and let you know what I was doing during this clip. I got everything prepared to solder. I have the ring and the bar set up in a third hand resting on some honeycomb soldering surfaces that have been broken and now can be used for setting up soldering. I'm getting the piece warm, spraying it with flux, grabbing a piece of solder out of my soldering dish, placing it on the bar. I use 2 tiny chips of solder on each side, so I'm going to flip it around and add 2 tiny pieces of solder to that side. Oh, sorry, I did 1 on each side first and then went back and added the second pieces. And now I'm just warming that up with my torch. and working on getting the whole piece up to temperature so that that solder will flow. And it's just a matter of going around and around, getting everything warm. And it does flow here momentarily. I'm not very zoomed in for this clip. There it goes, it flowed, and I'm turning it around, making sure the solder got pooled to the other side. Okay, there we go. I'll see you in the next clip. Okay. I am about to pull my piece out of the pickle. I unfortunately discovered that my mic was not on for the previous clip, so I'm probably going to have to do a voiceover for that, but you know, you live and learn. Okay, I just pulled this off the pickle, and that prong right there definitely got slumped over while I was soldering the bar onto the ring. I'm going to see if I can straighten it out using a pair of pliers, but I have a feeling I'm going to have to unsolder it and resolder a new prong to the bar. So, I'll be right back. Alright, I am back, and I'm going to get ready to polish this. I've removed it from the pickle. I straightened out that post as much as I could. One of the posts was also just a smidge long, so I filed that down. So everything is now ready, or I should say we are almost ready for the pearls to be adhered with some epoxy onto the posts, and then once that is cured, the ring will be ready to wear. But first I want to get this polished up. I want to smooth out some of the solder seams when I soldered the ring. So I'm just going to get things ready to polish. And I don't polish my jewelry to a high shine. I don't personally, let me say this another way, I don't typically like a high shine in my jewelry. I know that some people do, and that is totally fine. We each have our own preferences. I just like jewelry that is a little bit more satin finished, has a little bit of patina. Alright, I might gotta find my petal. Using a radial disc. There's not too many scratches on this. I tried to be really careful as I was working. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. You know, I'm going to flip my bench pen around because I like to, when I'm filing or polishing, I like to rest my hand on a slanted side. It's just, or slanted side, just a little bit more comfortable for my hands. I'm knocking things over with my cord. Alright, I am back. I tumbled the ring for a little bit to give it kind of that satin finish with the tumbling medium, and I am just about ready to set the pearls onto the posts. I have consulted one of my stone setting books to read up on setting pearls since I've never done it before. One of the suggestions the book gave was to put a little bit of texture onto the posts so that the epoxy can grip onto it a little better. So I'm just going to take, sorry, let me get in camera. I'm just going to take an old pair of nail clippers and ever so gently kind of go around and squeeze and put a little bit of texture onto these posts. All right, I've got a scrap piece of cork from a sewing project, and I'm going to use this in the vise to protect the ring as I'm setting it. Okay, I think I have it all set up with the piece of cork in there to protect the ball vise from hopefully any epoxy that I might. Okay, I'm not sure how much I'm going to talk during this process. Oops. Because I really want to focus, but we're going to do our best. Okay. Picking up a little bit of epoxy with, yep, toothpick. Putting a little bit of epoxy inside the pearl with a Q-tip. And where did my tweezers go? Here they are. Okay, got one done. A little too much epoxy on that Q-tip, I think. And the other pearl. Put a little bit of epoxy on the inside of that. Okay, one more. Hey, what you got now? I see that. Okay, I got the pearls set in there with the epoxy. I'm going to ever so gently take this out. And I have some little, these are micro swabs, and I'm just going to go around and clean off any epoxy. And I'm going to put this back in the ball vise. Let it set up. And oh my gosh, there it is. Isn't that cute? All right, I'm going to try it on. Take off this pinky ring. Hands, excuse my hands, they're a little swollen. But isn't that just the sweetest little pearl ring? Oh, I am so in love with it. I'm really happy with my first pearl ring. It is not perfect, but I did it. I set pearls on a ring. I already have more ideas for pearl jewelry because pearl jewelry is supposed to be in. And now I have a beautiful, beautiful pearl ring. So pretty. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey and this Smith with Me episode. I will see you next time. Bye bye.